Got a six-pack of questions. Gator, do you want to kick or receive?
I will kick.
All right, I will receive. Here we go.
All right, here we go. You sure you don't want an onside kick, Gator?
Though I was successful at my kicking career, I will kick it deep.
Okay. Texas A&M, they haven't lived up to expectations with Jimbo Fisher as a whole with him as the head coach. They owe him a lot of money, and he's got a ton of money left on his contract. Is Jimbo Fisher in danger of losing his job this year?
Yeah, the number is something extraordinary, like $80 million. And Texas A&M has a ton of money. I mean, a ton of money. But I don't think he is in trouble like this year. If I were on Jimbo's advisory committee, I would make sure that everything you do on the telephone is consensual. I would make sure that you go to church. I would make sure that you hold the door for old ladies. I would make sure that your record is beyond reproach in every way and you don't give Texas A&M a reason to fire you. But I don't think he will lose his job this year. No, I think there's too much money there.
There's a lot of money that's due there. And I think even with the deep pockets the oil money can produce, I don't think that they can afford to just throw him out just yet. The record is very unimpressive for someone that came in with, a national championship under his belt at Florida State and with all these high hopes and using the NIL and the portal and all that. And here they are, they're 42-22 during his tenure at Texas A&M and have not had a double-digit winning season yet. They're 3-1 to start the season. There's plenty of time for them to keep turning things around here and be a player. But I don't think it happens this year, but I think that seat could get real hot in the offseason.
Well, you just said it. They're 3-1. I don't think it happens this year. Could they go out and lose a couple games they shouldn't lose? Yes, because it is the SEC. And I think the fact that you are in the SEC, you're always kind of in danger of losing your job. I just don't think it happens this year. All right, Georgia hasn't played anyone on their schedule yet, but they still have Kentucky and 4 teams that are currently ranked right now on the back end of their schedule. Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Will they finish the season undefeated heading into the SEC championship game?
It's a tough question, not just because I wrote it. It's tough because I'm not sure how good Georgia is. I don't think this is the same Georgia team that we've seen year in and year out throughout the best defense in college football and dominate you and break your back and then just take over games. They've scored points, but they haven't had that 50 burger yet. They haven't gone above that. They, scored 48 against Tennessee Martin, 45 against Ball State, 49 against UAB. The one game they played this year against South Carolina in the SEC, they won 24-14. That's kind of pedestrian, isn't it? And yet the teams they're playing at the end, I don't have a whole lot of faith in them, but I think they'll lose one of those. I think Tennessee or Ole Miss can get them.
So it feels a lot like Michigan in that it's hard to really tell yet. But I suspect, kind of like Michigan, Georgia hasn't had to put together a game plan to win a game yet. They can go out and just play football, keep things pretty vanilla, and still find a way to win, even though they trailed that South Carolina game 14-3 at the half. But I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I think when it gets right down to it, when they have to go out and game plan to win a game, when they do play these tougher opponents in weeks to come, that they'll be able to take care of business. I'm not going to move off the position of Georgia running the table again this year.
I kind of feel like the days of running the table are going to be behind us a little bit. The college football schedule, the teams are real tough now. Everyone's recruiting well. Everyone's paying bazillion dollars for coaches. I say no, they won't go undefeated heading to that championship game. And I got Tennessee beating them with an upset at home.
Oh.
How much of a hit does Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman take for the 10 men on the field mistake?
So he'll survive it, but obviously it goes on his permanent record, and it gives critics ammunition, and it obviously can't happen again. And now you have some of the basic skills of being a head coach get called into question. The CEO stuff. Are you a CEO of this program and really paying attention to all the details? Is it his inexperience showing? Because he wasn't a head coach before that. It could be. And yet he hired a guy on his staff that I think is there sort of as the safety net for that. And that's Al Golden, who is a 10-year college coach at Temple and Miami. The thing is, Al Golden is the defensive coordinator. So it was his defense that only had the 10 guys out there. And I'm thinking, so I took a look. Al Golden's on the field. And you have some coaches in the press box. It's a lot easier to tell that you're short players from the press box. And I kind of wonder if they might change up who's in the press box and who's on the field. They have their safeties coach up in the press box. Did he notice? Because from up high, field level, you can miss stuff, speaking from experience. And so I wonder if certainly they'll have a fail-safe that it doesn't happen again, but I wonder if Al Golden moves upstairs.
Yeah, I think this isn't the first time this has happened. Somebody just tweeted out the play against Tennessee State earlier in the season. They won 56-3 over Tennessee State, but yet there was a play in Notre Dame territory, deep in Notre Dame territory, where they only had 10 guys on the field. It's happened before. Look, it'll happen again at some point. I imagine that's just how football works. But I also think that Doug's probably right. They're going to put some fail-safes in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again. I don't think it'll cost him. I think Marcus Freeman is one of the bright young coaches in football. I think they got the right hire. They got the right guy. And I think they'll be fine. Now, they got a big test this week against Duke. And they have some other tests later on in the season against USC and other teams in Clemson. But I really like what he's done there.
So the question is, how much hit does Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman take for this? I say not a lot, but definitely not a little. This is a big-time game, big-time program, big-time moments. And I say moments because they didn't have just 10 men on the field for the last play. They had 10 men on the field for the play right before that. So either Marcus Freeman was lying about not taking the penalty, or he just didn't know that he had 10 men on the field. You can chalk this up to being inexperienced, and they have to move. He has to move on and learn from this. But if it happens again in a big moment, I'm genuinely concerned about whether this guy can be a CEO of a football team. What's the best uniform you've seen this year in college football?
Interesting question. I'm going to throw two out there. I know this is not how we normally do things, but one is just because I love the color. I love Washington's purple jerseys. I love it. I love that color. The gold shiny helmet. I think it's a great combination. But I came across one that Tennessee unveiled last year against Kentucky. And it's the all-black alternative uniform that they have. It's all black with the orange lettering and the orange numbers. It's a black helmet with an orange tee on it. It looks awesome. They did it in a blackout game against Kentucky last year. I certainly hope they bust it out again this year.
I typically like traditional college football uniforms, but there's one uniform out there I'm fascinated with because I think it's an optical illusion. Washington State's home black and white uniforms. And I don't mean they are just the colors black and white. They look like they are playing on an old black and white television. Everything else is in color, and their uniforms, they have perfected sort of the gray of a black and white television broadcast. And it looks like a team from the 60s has been transported into the modern era. It's such a weird thing. I don't know how they've pulled it off, but they've managed to make their uniforms look like they're black and white TV and the rest of the game's being played in color. So I hand it to Washington State for that optical illusion.
My personal favorite, we just saw it, Notre Dame. I really do like the green. With the Irish, the green really pops. They stuck with the gold helmets, even though they lost the game. At least you guys had cool uniforms. Is Ohio State tough now? Are they tough now?
Look, winning at Notre Dame and winning on a Power 5 credible opponent on the road, national TV, at night, all that, it does take a degree of toughness. What I'm not convinced is that they're tough enough in the trenches. They had either 3 or 4 first or third and 1 or fourth and 1 to go situations, and they converted one of them. So, that's a lot of where toughness is measured. But I think overall, it speaks to a degree of toughness. I don't know if they're as tough as the coach wants them to be. I think he's trying to speak it into existence. He's trying to show his guys that he believes in them. But I'm not fully convinced just yet.
Yeah, I think it's a tough team. I think when you got guys that came back from injuries during the game, I thought Marvin Harrison was done. He wasn't. He came back out there. I thought, I forget who the other player was that went down, that he was done. He came back out there. I think it's a team that grew a lot in South Bend, and that's dangerous for Michigan and Penn State because I think that they've got a little bit of an edge to them. They've got a really young quarterback who now is feeling pretty confident about what he can do and what that team can do. And look, Is it dumb to say Ohio versus everybody? Of course it is. But you know who it's not dumb for? That team and those players. If they believe in that, that goes a long way. As ridiculous as it may seem to the rest of us.
That was a big win, big-time win. They showed mental toughness. About the physical part, I'm not sure yet. I think McCord, the quarterback, made some great throws, and that's mental toughness right there in sticky situations when they had to have it. But as far as physical toughness, not quite there yet. Jet sweep on 4th and 1, not getting it on 4th or 3rd and short or whatever it was on short with 10 against 10 men, and then finally getting it against 10 men. Yeah, they got the job done, and you definitely need to hang your head on that. And I think they showed mental toughness, but the physical part, I think we're still waiting. Colorado got smoked at Oregon this past Saturday. They play USC this upcoming Saturday. Does USC make it back-to-back blowout losses for the Deion Sanders, Coach Prime-led team?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's just too much talent. USC has more talent on offense than what Colorado can hope to put out there defensively. Again, as long as Colorado's going to play without Travis Hunter, who's their best defensive player, who's their best player outside of Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, as long as they continue to play without him, they don't have much of an opportunity. And on that defensive side of the ball, I mean, you don't think Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley are licking their chops at the opportunity that's in front of them? Colorado is very, very thin. They're fun to watch. I love the offense and watch and see what they can do, but they're just thin. And when it comes to taking on the big boys in college football, they're not there yet. They're fun to watch, but they're just not there yet, and it's going to be a field day for USC.
It's not going to be as bad as it was at Oregon, is my prediction, because Colorado's defense is dreadful. USC's defense is merely bad.
Yeah.
And so I think Colorado has a chance to at least punch back offensively, and playing at home is going to matter. So Colorado lost by 36. I would take Colorado plus 35.5.
Well,
I think it's going to be
yet.
closer than that game. And I don't think it's going to be, in the end, be a blowout. I'm looking at USC winning the game, but something in the neighborhood of like 38-28.
Yeah, I see another blowout. I agree with Gator. I love what Coach Deion has done so far, but they're just not ready yet. You know, I mean, especially Travis Hunter's already out. You talk about them being thin, that offensive line. But like Deion, like Coach Prime said, get them now while you can, because once he gets this thing rolling with players in there with experience, it's going to be tough to stop Colorado.
It's a 21.5-point spread, just for those at home.
And there it is. That concludes the Transfer Portal NIL Live Animal Mascot Trophy Game thingy as we swing around the country, college football.